Welcome to Community Crossfire, another point of view. I'm your host, Norman Oliver. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've been enjoying this month, Black History Month programs from Gino Jennings, to Pastor Gino Jennings, to Cy Wolford, to the Monday Club. We've had some incredible shows, and this evening we're going to keep with that tradition. We invited a few people down, but only one brave soul made it, and that's none other than the Honorable B.B.COKER. But before I go to B.B.COKER, let me make a few announcements. First of all, I'm going to dedicate this show. I'm Trish. I know that you watch the show a lot, and I'm told that Robin Selby, who's a friend of ours, also is in the hospital, and so I dedicate this show to Robin and you, Trish, and hope that you guys are in best of spirits. And also, over the next couple of weeks, people will be filling in for me because I've been traveling a lot, and it's been very difficult to get here on Sunday nights, BB. And so, shut up, Trippy. And so, Ugandi Jacobs will be sitting in here a lot for me. Ugandi, thank you so very much for agreeing to that. And I've asked a lot of people to sit in, so a lot of people will be sitting in. And let me tell you, some of the people will be sitting in and hosting the show. I said Ugandi Jacobs, Pastor Derek Johnson, Ty Johnson, Mike Brown, Hanifa Shabazz, Mike Rowley, Chi-Chi, Richard Dighton, and even Wayne Dobson. So it's about 5 or 6 people be sitting in, filling in for me until my schedule gets back right again. I want to thank Ugandi Jacobs again for agreeing to sit in for me. Richard Dighton, Chi-Chi, thank you. Thank you, Pastor D and Ty Johnson, Hanifa Shabazz, and Mike Brown, and also Mike Rowley and Wayne Dobson. So that should carry the show for a while until I get back. And
that's a good rundown.
And you know what I like about it? Because, I was talking to somebody, it was like, man, well, it's hard to replace you. Guess what? They said Magic Johnson and them would never replace. Guess what? Michael Jordan replaced them. Yeah. Michael Jordan never replaced. Guess what? That's why you have LeBron James. And the NBA's at its best. They said football players, they can't be the football has never been better.
That's right.
When Al used to sit on the show, man, Al could never, when you have your own way, everybody's replaceable.
Yeah.
Guess what Dr. Kingsman did for 50 years?
Yeah.
Barack Obama's here, And somebody made a really nice thing. They said, well, Barack Obama, most kids 12 years old, that's the only person they know as a black president. 10, 11, 12 years old, that's all they know. Also, before I go to BB, I see where, and I want to commend City Council, first of all. I don't want anyone to get upset. I see where they're going to name a park after Bob Marley. Bob Marley, the reggae guy.
Reggae.
But for the life of me, I can't understand why we have not named anything after Jim Seals. And I've spoken about this on a few times. I think that if you look at the last mayors, especially Democratic mayors, you have Mayor McLaughlin has the public safety building. Babiar's, if you walk, you have the Babiar's Park. Maloney, if you walk down the mall, you'll see Maloney's statue. When you go down to Riverfront, you'll see the Farley Stadium. Jim Seals was the first African-American mayor of this city. Regardless if people want to accept it or appreciate history, history is what it is. History is what it is. And for us, even Jim Baker, my friend Jim Baker has the city council chambers, up on the 9th floor named after him. And BB, for the life of me, I can't understand how we haven't named something in his honor. And that's just me speaking. Nobody else has to join in. I think it's kind of weird. Again, I don't want anybody to say, Norman Oliver's talking about David Bob Marley Park. No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying good for them. But for Jim Seals not to have anything, and this guy, and you know better than I think he was the first African-American person who was executive director of People's Settlement. He's NAACP president. He's at large. I mean, this is what people tell me. At large, member, tenured professor, state representative. I mean, his accomplishments will match up against anybody on here. So for us not to have something, and we're speaking in Black History Month, it's amazing to me. Okay, let me make an announcement. Delaware State, and BB, I know you're going to talk about this. Speaking of Black History Month, Delaware State is doing something unique. We're calling it Scholarship Sunday, and that will be March the 9th. And I was kind of confused when I read it last week because I thought it should have like a time or something. No, everyone who goes to church on March the 9th, they're going to take donations because they're trying to raise money for scholarships. If you read the paper today, you see where they're taking away some of Delaware State University's power to give out loans because a lot of the kids defaulted. They broke. They defaulted on loans. BB, did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, no, in a way, yeah, I can't remember the particular title of the loan, but it was one of many that the federal government has. And I think the thing that bothered me, excuse me, that really bothered me about what they were doing, it just seemed so petty. I'm not saying that people should not pay bills. I don't mean that. But if anybody read that article, they saw that there was not even a tenth of a percent between being eligible for the money to continue and for it to be discontinued. And I think that I'm not making excuses, but I think that people should recognize that there is now, it appears to be, some sort of movement to disregard historically black colleges and universities. And because things like this can happen, for one reason, in my estimation, it's because we don't stand up and support what's ours. And as a result, these kinds of things will happen. It's actually been rumored, and it is just a rumor, and I'm like everybody else, you hear these kinds of things, that in about 10 years, there may be only 10 historically black colleges remaining, like a Spelman, like a Morehouse, like a Lincoln, like that kind of thing.
Wow.
And
that's scary.
Some people say that there is a conspiracy. I choose not to believe that simply because I don't want to believe it. But even if it is true, it doesn't mean that it can't be stopped. Because it's just like what you were talking about in terms of former Mayor Jim Sills, et cetera, et cetera. Why doesn't that surprise me? It doesn't surprise me because I could ask you the same question. Why isn't our history in the history books on the pages and the texts where it belongs? So for you, I can get excited like everybody else. Since we have Black History Week at first, 1926, started Carter G. Woodson. It's now Black History Month. But you think about it, Norman. 1 month out of the year, I don't die after February 28th or February 29th if it's leap year.
That's the least amount of days.
That's right. And all I'm suggesting is that as a people, we need to stand up for ourselves. And we need to say, one, our history is not in the books, that's major, and that's going to take a legislative kind of change to put it in the paragraph in the book where it belongs. I know there are some who would say, we need to tell our story. I keep saying, history in terms of African Americans on this side of the Atlantic does have a number of stories and tales and folklore and that kind of thing. But what I'm concerned about are the facts of history that belong in the book with the rest of them. Our children go to school and they take a history course. They don't see themselves in that history book. It's as though we're visitors in America.
When you speak about that, I'm glad you brought that up. When you speak about facts and history,
yes.
What do you remember about DSEG? I mean, in '78, because I remember the whole busing thing. And I know that you and Hicks Anderson, a number of you guys, Jack Miles, were really on the forefront of that. What do you remember about DSEG, and how did it come around? And I remember, and this is a true statement. I remember when we got bused out to Newark High School. And you came out there. You like, why don't you guys start an African American club? and she had a big afro then, and I was scared as hell of her. I was like, who's this little lady to get like this, right? And we started it, and then we started a peer council. But what do you remember, and how did that come about?
The whole business of desegregation was what they called de jure, simply because by law, schools were not segregated. Housing was segregated. And there were patterns, for whatever reason. The obvious reason is that the neighborhoods were separate. So by law, and you can look it up, anybody that wants to, challenge me if you want to, but by law, schools were not segregated. So therefore, we had the de jure segregation. Everybody believed that if we were to desegregate our schools and our children, excuse me, and busing was the remedy for desegregation, that our children would be, quote, so much better off scholarship-wise, et cetera, because they would be going to school in so-called better areas, and they would be getting these courses and a whole lot of stuff. Our contention was that, one, why would you think, or what makes African Americans think that the school down the street from you, which is a public school with taxpayers' money, why isn't my school just as good as anybody else's? Same quality of learning, opportunities, et cetera, For whatever reason, during that period of time, and sometimes I think now, during that period of time, we did not feel like we could stand up and protest and ask for the excellence in education in the schools in our neighborhood. I never understood that, because I felt like we moved to the Van Buren Street area for one reason. 1 block from my house in the 3100 block was P.S. DuPont High School. I had a high schooler. Over 2 blocks to the right was Harlan. I had an elementary school child. Across the field, football field from P.S. in the back was Burnett. I had a middle school child. We moved there on purpose so that our children could get up, take a shower, be at school in 5 minutes time. And the schools were good. Now, for anybody to believe that desegregation, and evidently a whole lot of people believed it, that desegregation was going to be this magic silver bullet that was going to make all children great, all children learn, every school the best, et cetera, It doesn't. It takes hard work.
Let me ask you, I don't mean to cut you off.
That's okay.
But 2 things I want to ask you,
Sure.
because these are 2 things that I remember where I was told that you guys were at the table and they were ready to bust us out of the city for 12 years. And Wendell Howe, you guys said, no, we could do 9-3. Is that true?
No.
Okay, and then another theory was the tax base, because the Wilmington School District could not sustain the tax base to keep the schools running. Could you answer those 2 questions?
That's not true. Neither one of those are true. This whole thing was a design that was supported by just about everybody that even looked like us in terms of what we thought that quality education was all about. You couldn't have found a better school than a Howard and a PS. Come on.
Right.
We know this. Now, for whatever reason, I always believed that we were distracted by propaganda. And the propaganda was that if my child goes to school with a white child, the learning is just going to automatically be better. Now, if that were true, then as a taxpayer, an African American taxpayer, I should be asking the question, why is that so? But we didn't do that. When we decided as a group, and there were only about 12 or 13 of us, that we were going to protest this, we did very vehemently. Nobody really listened. The interesting part is the courts listened. We had to put in a brief, and we did. We filed a brief. It was Ruth Baker, Pat Butler, Barbara Starling, Jim Baker, Jack Miles, Hicks Anderson, a few other people, but there were only about 12 of us. And we filed the brief. And when you filed a brief against whatever was going on with DSEG, you had to file a remedy. So our remedy was that if this is really about education, and the example would be at that time, Mary C.I. Williams was a school on the west side, and it was having one of the biggest problems was the reading department. So our contention was that if this is really about education and not divide and conquer, then why don't you, our remedy was to bust the teachers and let the children walk to school. But this really was not about education. This was about dividing our community, and we let it happen.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, if you just tuned in, wow, we didn't know we were going to go here, but as you know, on Community Crossfire, we go in places we have no idea we're going to go. And now we're talking about DSEG and education during this Black History Month, and I think one of the people who were was on the forefront of that is Miss B.B.COKER, and we're going to get into a good dialogue, a deep dialogue, and I hope we have some folks call in. Let me ask you another question, Ms. Coker. When we talk about DSEG and segregation, are there any more segregated schools? You go to Prestige, right? You go to Eastside Charter, Moyer Academy, uh, the charter school on used to be right, George Gray.
Yeah,
All these are 95% black schools.
that's right.
So buy your school.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing? I mean, what is accomplished?
You know, I'm like
And
Jay.
let me ask you
No,
another question.
Go ahead, yeah.
Because now you got me thinking.
Yeah.
And I want people to get in on this conversation about these schools. Do you think that desegregation helped or hurt our community as it relates to education and the whole drug epidemic and everything? I know I asked you a lot of stuff, but I'm talking about the way schools are segregated now, folks. Now follow me, because I know sometimes we talk about a lot of stuff, but this gets deep. This gets deep. What's your thoughts?
The one thing is that I think desegregation hurt our community.
Wow.
Because it divided our community, just like 95. The what do you call it? The highway. That divided our community. Jim Baker talked about that a long time ago. Nobody listened. That's part of our problem. We get so, as a community, it's sort of sad to me, but we get very distracted about things that don't matter, or shouldn't matter, I should say. We were distracted in the whole deseg thing by people who actually believed, oh, their school has no business being better than mine. We're going to make sure that our children get this, this, and this. This is going to be the answer to our education problems, et cetera, and we will show the white people, and they need to be bussed in, and all that kind of stuff. That was the argument of things that surround what happens when you use busing as a remedy for desegregation. The real issue in terms of any educational process should be the quality learning, the teaching staff, the administrative staff, cultural competencies in the school, and what's really going on to make sure that every child has an opportunity to learn at whatever level they are, whether it's here, or wherever it is, to meet their potential. Deseg really divided our community. Our community has not been back together since, if you notice.
So what do we do?
That's a hard question.
Do you think it's time to relook at that? I mean, we talk about neighborhood schools.
Yeah.
The neighborhood school
Yeah.
act. So do you think that it's time to look at going back to PS, going back to Howard's vocational? PS is like an elementary. I think they tore down some schools, like Albert School's been
gone.
Albert Palmer over in South Wilmington where I live. So how do you fix that?
I tell you what I'm focusing on right now, and it's not just me, but I can only tell you from my point of view what I see. What we're focusing on right now is the business and level of quality learning opportunities for all children. I don't give a darn if the school is in a telephone booth.
Right.
If the teacher is there, the kids are there, and they're learning, put me right there. Put our children there. I'm going to stop arguing about a building. I'm going to stop arguing about things that don't matter. I'm going to argue about one thing. Are we affording? Because we've cheated our children long enough. We need to argue for one thing, an excellence in teaching, academically and otherwise, a good head of schools so that our children will have an opportunity to learn and people want them there. I'm tired of our children feeling like visitors in the school. I want to feel like I belong there.
You know, it's interesting, right? First of all, let me say this, and I've watched a lot of this stuff evolved.
Yeah.
And again, I always appreciate what you did for me when I was a student. No, and I mean that seriously. I mean, I'm kidding with that. But I watched all the superintendents over the years get a pass, but I've watched them beat up on Dr. Lyles, Dr. Metz, Dr. Lowry, now Dr. Williams. Seems like the black superintendent always get beat up. You know, and these people are, and I would think that, you know, they have a job to do just like anyone else.
Yeah.
Why do we continue to attack that segment also?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why a community actually, or why we as a people beat up on each other instead of beating up on the problem, because that's really what we do. But the sad part about it is, I certainly don't have an answer for everything, but I would challenge our community to stop being black once a year. And when I say being black, I mean in the sense of African American pride. take it for 365 days of the year for 12 months out of the year. It's not about February. It's not about 1 month. Sure, it has to be celebratory simply because our history isn't in the books. But what do you do in March? In March, we decide, okay, let's stand up and say, you know what? Why don't we get the history books rewritten? What's wrong with that?
Do you think we should have a Wilmington school system?
It's not about a Wilmington school system, in my estimation.
No, that's
now.
okay.
It's not about a Wilmington school system. It's not about a Newark school system. It's not about an Appoquinimink school system. What I want for our children is a good system of schools, regardless of where they are. You can call them, you can name them after my mama. I don't care, as long as they are good schools and doing what they're supposed to do for each and every child. I don't care. I'm not going to get into that thing anymore. I refuse to, because everybody.
But you would agree.
Yeah,
But Ms. Coker, you would agree that now more than ever, in our communities, right? And I've read where they said the dropout rate is not like it used to. But in our communities, it's still very high.
It is. It's too high.
And since deseg, we're talking about desegregation, it's the worst. And we talk about expulsions, and I know Jay Street has been really on this. Expulsions. I was a counselor at a school, so I've seen some injustice, and I had to call on Jay. So, and I had to call on Hicks before when I saw the injustice. So, and this is at a young age.
Oh yeah.
So, when you see, you know, our kids get expelled, suspended at rapid rates, when you see them have to get on a bus for 2 hours or hour when another child could ride around the corner in 5 minutes, and they don't eat, and it's a whole bunch of things that are playing a role in this, ladies and gentlemen. And this is a topic that we should talk about. This is a serious topic that we should talk about tonight. I mean, are we going in the right path? You hear me? Are we going in the right path?
Yeah.
Or what do we do? That's what I'm saying. It's almost like the poem. Where do we go from here?
You know what? I hear what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with you. What I am saying is that there are some fundamental things, some fundamental issues that need to be addressed that we really aren't looking at. And I'm going to tell you, one thing is
talk about it.
The parenting.
Talk about it.
We are not, as our community, I have a problem with the fact that we will see the parents when the children are in trouble.
Wow.
And that's a problem to me.
Talk about it.
But when we ask you to come out, eat spaghetti or whatever else, and let's talk about curriculum so you will know what we're doing, where the child is, so that when the homework comes home, we'll know what to do, et cetera, et cetera. See, my contention is this. You look at schools like Prestige, you look at the school in Harlem, you look at all those schools, and you think that, oh, this is just different. No, it's just, you say, oh, they have money or they do this. No, it's not about that. You have teachers in those schools, particularly in that Harlem Kids Zone thing and the other schools.
Have you been by Nativity?
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you what you're looking at. You're looking at parents who are concerned about their children's education, one. You're looking at people in the school who know how to teach, who believe in recognizing cultural competencies, and who expect something out of those children. When you go to a school and you have people that are weak in academics, that are not culturally competent, and then you say, okay, children are raising Cain and they're doing this and they're suspending. What's going on with the schools?
Wow.
Where is the learning taking place? When you get a kid occupied, you don't have all that trouble. And when you really look at a lot of the children that are suspended and that kind of thing, and the skills that they have in terms of drawing other children, that's what I call leadership skills. Build on them. Why don't you decide, let me make a leader corps? They've done something like that at Howard. They have an elite group, not elite group, but they have the girls that come together that learn certain kinds of things. They have the fellas that decided after the girls came together, they wanted to come together. There are all sorts of things you can do.
Let me say this, and we're going to take some phone calls because this topic is going to get hot. You know, a lot of times we beat up on the parents, right? And let me speak for some of the parents who, you know, a lot of times we say the parents are not involved, they don't care, or whatever. And I'm not saying you said that, but a lot of times people have sat here and said that, and it sounds good. It sounds good on paper, but a lot of these parents, what we talked about earlier, when it comes to deseg, they can't get out to Newark. They don't have transportation. They can't get out to Gallagher, Gallagher. They can't get out to some of these places in Brandywine and Red Clay. They can't get out there. Then when they get there, they're intimidated because they don't even know the lingo.
Right. Yeah.
So we can't say because this parent lives in this situation, in this neighborhood, that they don't care. Hell, my mom cared, but she didn't drive. She couldn't get out to Newark. You feel me? And but I think it's more of a community.
It is. That's
You understand my point?
That's right.
So we
That's
can't
right.
say because this parent is a loudmouth and she lives around the corner from Gauger or I don't want to beat up on Christina or one of the Rio Claire Brandywine school districts that she cares more because she understands what you say. Hell, some of these people don't even know what a curriculum is.
Right.
Now we're in the computer age. That's whole different. We got to come up in the school district. Got to come up with a way to make it more inviting. Is that a good? Is that more?
It has to be more inviting, and I think part of what you're saying, I totally agree with. But I also know that I know things have changed. But I also remember in the early stages of DSEG, if you remember, we insisted that buses be made available so that parents could go to
Absolutely,
school.
but it's not like that no more.
No, and the buses were kind of empty when they were going out. And that's not, you're right, you don't really blame the parents.
Because they had to get food on the table.
That's right. But I say that what...
You understand they had to work.
No,
Let me have the phone lines up,
Yeah.
and I'm going to let you talk. 302-661-4446. Oh, the number's up there. Wow. There is a God. Look at this right here, magic.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got to get on this conversation. I'm sorry, Ms. Coker.
No, only thing I was saying is that, excuse me, I think that school systems, or schools, in my estimation, are responsible to understand the importance of a parent and to make that parent understand how important you are to your child's learning.
We say the same
so
thing.
that means that you reach out, you go to the home, you got to do this. If I can't...
What about training for some of these teachers too?
That's going on too. That's going on.
Yeah,
but it's not well publicized. It's going on now.
Yeah, but they're giving these people hundreds of thousands of dollars to train teachers. We'll get into that right now. How you doing? Welcome to the show. Thanks for calling.
Yes, Norm. Yes, just calling Mr. Coker. We were talking about the reason for DSEG. Mrs. Coker, wasn't one of the reasons to that 1968 Educational Advancement Act, so-called Educational Advancement Act, which kind of drew a red line around the city? Wasn't that a factor in the DSEG?
I can't remember exactly, but I do remember the part of it was, those suits that we had, the Claymont suit, the one in Hockessin, excuse me, the Belton thing, in terms of equal opportunities in education in Delaware. The only thing is that the schools were not by law, and you can look it up, the schools were not segregated by law. Housing was segregated by law. Therefore, you had schools that looked like the neighborhood. And they said that, according to the law, that had to be changed.
Yeah, and I agree, but I kind of thought that kind of redlined the city. In other words, you're right, the schools were not segregated for housing,
right.
But people could not get, people who could afford to bus their kids, say, to a school they wanted to go to, were not allowed to if they lived in the city limits. That's what I understood with that.
But it was mandatory busing.
Yeah,
it was mandatory busing.
Yeah, mandatory.
Okay, thank you. That's a good point.
Yeah, it is a good
They
point.
asked the person that called to stand up.
Hello? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi.
Yeah, turn your TV down a little bit, please.
Sure. This is Stacey Henry. Thank you, Miss BB, for coming on to speak about what is important. But the only comment I would like to say is we can sit around and complain, not you guys, but us as parents and educators. But the comment I have to say is get involved. Saturday Academy, Sunday Academy, wherever. We have to get our parents back at the table. If we don't come to the table, they're making all kinds of decisions about our babies. And it does not stand anything for them. It's for the people who are making decisions. I'm talking about the parents. They have to come out, make arrangements. They have to get involved.
You know what? I agree with you 100%. If I can make a comment, and Ms. Coker, you probably know this, a lot of the money that came down from Race to the Top, No Child Left Behind, left us all behind. And it raced out of our community.
Yeah.
Because what they've done is they use old people, that they do the same stuff, whoever could cross the, dot an I, cross a T, then consultants on top of consultants. They got money now they don't know how to spend on consultants because they consult so much, and we get left behind. That's what's going on. Thank you. That's what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going? This is
Turn your TV down. Turn your TV down. We can't hear you.
Sure, walking out of another room. Hey, first off, I just wanted to make a comment. I watched the show last week, and the guy that told you to come and get that DVD.
Yeah, I know. He just told me. My fault. I'll be over there.
No, I just wanted to tell you, I went ahead and jumped on that opportunity, went over to the brother.
I heard it was
and got
nice.
a DVD. It was one of the best DVDs I've ever
Alvin just told me that. I got to see that. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, it was amazing. But another thing, I used to work in the school system. I'll be quick because I know you got a lot of
No, go ahead.
callers that want to call in. But people say that the schools are mixed in now, and after working in the educational system, if you want to see deseg, go into an honors class. If you want to see segregation, go into an honors class and go into a college prep class.
Talk about
it. See segregation.
Talk about it, man. That's
right.
a good point.
That's very
and that's
good
another
point.
thing.
AP.
You want, the advanced placement classes,
Yeah.
and honor classes
right.
there. Desegregated is ever in history. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Storm and Norman. Good evening, and good evening, Mrs. Coker.
Go ahead. How you doing, Dwight?
Hi.
Well, I just want to say that I was born in the city of Wilmington, and I'm a product of the public school system, and that my mother, Lillian Davis Richardson, was on the front line with desegregation. But I think one of the problems is that the African American community really needs to tell the truth about what came before desegregation, and that was in part the riots. And after the riots, not only did the European community leave the city, but a lot of the middle class and upper middle class African Americans left the city as well. I think that what needs to be said is the truth, that there was division in the African American community that had nothing to do with racial division. There was division in the African American community of class division. And there were those in the African American community that believed that sitting next to a European in the classroom, they were the integrationists that believed that sitting next to a European was far better than going to school.
Hold for 1 second, Dwight. I'm B.B. shaking her here. What are you shaking here for?
Dwight, I'm not going to disagree with you totally across the line, but I am going to say that having been there and been on the street and been in the court, trust me when I tell you that division in terms of what people wanted as far as busing and that kind of thing
Dwight.
did not have that much of a class ring to it. Trust me on that.
Let it have it now.
Yeah.
It hasn't stopped. How you doing? Welcome to the show. Hello?
Yes, how you doing?
How you doing?
Mr. Coker, in hindsight, I was always under the impression or thoughts that black leadership failed the black teachers as far as the SEG was concerned, as far as like let them down or sold them out. Do you feel like that in hindsight?
You said in hindsight, you were told that the black leadership.
They offered a better job as far as negotiating with the black teachers are concerned.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what you saying in hindsight, you said you were told that the black leadership, okay, sold the black teachers out who were part of the Wilmington school system?
Very much.
Okay. What do you say to that, Ms. Coker?
Now, I'll tell you how you can prove to yourself exactly what happened. It was an extremely difficult time for, it wasn't the black leadership, but it was an extremely difficult time for black teachers and principals. And I do know for a fact, and I think I'm free to say this now, between Ted Blunt and Joe Johnson, they went to the mat to keep the principals that we had and to keep the teachers that we had. And you can look at the numbers yourself to see who stayed on and who was not, kept on in terms of seniority and union and that kind of thing.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
In terms of seniority.
Hello?
Yes.
You got to turn your TV down, please, because we can't really hear you. You probably got something nice to say.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now loud and clear. Thank you.
I have a question for the lady, Ms. Coker.
Uh-huh.
And the question is, I wanted to know how she felt about the movement with Martin Luther King and other black leaders with the just integrating society as a whole, not just in the school system, just black people in general wanting to be a part of the white population and what that did to our community and the strength that we had in our own numbers.
Well, thank you for the call, Ms. Coker.
There's such a thing as what you said. Okay, I'm hearing what you're saying, and you're saying in terms of integration and our people wanting to be a part of the white community. If you really want to know the truth, in my estimation, okay, with my generation, it wasn't so much wanting to be a part of anybody's white community or anything else. It was wanting to be a part of a community that we were paying taxes for. Like, I want to go to the hotel, I want to eat at a restaurant, I want to be, I grew up in the South.
Right.
So I know there were two worlds in the South.
Wow.
There was the black world or Negro world at that time. There was the Negro world and there was the white folks world. And all I'm saying is that never the twain did meet. I used to drink from white fountains because I just wanted to do it to be defiant.
Just to see if the water tastes different.
Oh yeah, it did. It was colder. And that's the only difference. It was still water. But for us to really think, I would hate for you to think that the reason we did the fight for public accommodations and open housing and that kind of thing, it wasn't.
Let me ask you a quick question. I'm going to go to the line.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a quick question. They had a special on today on Outside the Lines about the N-word.
Yeah.
And you said you came down from the South. What does that word mean to you? Because it's used so freely nowadays, especially from rappers. And even a young guy cussed me out, called me all kinds of N-word. You know what I mean? He wasn't really cussing me out, but he was like, you in guys, we sell people out, we on this and that. And what does that say to you?
It doesn't say a whole lot, and I'll tell you why.
Does it sting or it don't matter?
The word nigger, at the time that it was used, when I was growing up and now, when it was used by white people, it was used as meanness, evil, hatred, that kind of thing. You niggers, okay? I talked about this today in a Black History thing over at Bolden. We were called nigger, negro, nigra, niggar, rastas, oh goodness.
So
colored.
It don't sting now?
It may sting some people, but it doesn't bother me. And I'll tell you what happened. I really, that's one of those arguments that's distracting to me. You can say anything. I know what my name is.
Gotcha.
If our children knew what their names were and how rich their heritage were, you could call me nigger all day. It wouldn't make any difference. When I was at a filling station one time in Maryland, when I was living down there in Greenbelt, these little white kids were hanging out the window. They didn't say anything while I was filling up my car, but when they got ready to drive off, they said, nigger, nigger. I said, where?
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
How you doing, Norman?
Hey, hi.
This is Joyous. How you doing, Ms. Copeland?
Hey.
I'm following. There's a lot of things I want to say, but I'm gonna shorten it up. I think one of the problems is, Norman, that I think a lot of things happen when all the black men teachers stop teaching at these schools, because again, there were the fathers that we didn't have.
That's right.
There was a disciplinary, and this brother did a study from Harvard. He said black kids do better with the encouragement than white kids. And then now today, a lot of these African American kids won't see an African American teacher until in college. And I want to ask Ms. Copeland, what does she think about the African American men teachers back when she was there and today?
Thank you very much. Great call. Great question.
That's a great point, Julius, and you're quite right. The African American males' just appearance in our schools, as far as teachers were concerned, very comforting, very mentoring. And when you think about it, though, let's be real. The quality of our teachers, and please don't give me any calls, don't send me any emails. I'm just saying what I really feel in my heart. There are a number of teachers.
You can say it on
there
here.
are a majority of teachers that I would say, or a great number of teachers that are really dedicated, they're good, they know their academic subject matter. But from the governor on down, they will tell you that my quest has been for us to upgrade the quality of the teachers that are standing in front of these children that are teaching them academically and otherwise. It's lacking. And whether you're a male or a female, it is now lacking. But he has a very good point.
Thank you. How you doing? Welcome to the show. Hello? Going once, going twice, you're gone. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Norm. I just want to make a comment on the statement that Ms. Copeland just made. I I have an autistic child in an artistic class. He has been suspended from school 4 times in 2 weeks. He has an IEP and a behavior plan. So what she just said is definitely true.
You know. What I'm concerned about. Why don't we have the quality that if you send your child to a Centerville or a Pilot in our schools? You know, you send your child to there. Those specialized schools I'm talking about. It costs you $25,000. And I just had a member of the family who has a person, and she's saying, I got to send my child out there.
Yes.
To get the same education that should happen in a public school.
That's right.
With my tax dollars.
That's right.
With all this money that we waste per child for some of these consultants on top of consultants who consult to consultants who take the money out of our communities. Thank you for the call. You understand my point?
I know exactly what you're saying.
And why shouldn't we have that kind of money and resources right there? How you doing? Welcome to the show. Don't get me started.
Hi, Norm. Good evening, Miss Vivi. This is Pastor D.
Hey, Pastor D.
Great discussion as usual, Norm. Thank you so much. For all months, Black History Month, man, you've been on point. Thank you for setting me up with Gino, man. I appreciate you. Listen, I have three points that I want to make, and I'd like to have Miss Vivi respond to. The first is that I remember going to PS Warner Junior High School, even as far back as Northeast in Riverside, that teaching was a part of our people makeup. In other words, even alcoholic was a teacher. We respected teaching as a part of our culture, and we ourselves, each of us, felt a sense of responsibility in teaching, and therefore the professional teacher was held in high esteem in our community, and I think there's been some diminishing of that status. That's like the average. Number two, I believe because we have more black administrators, such as Williams, over large educational apparatuses, Norm, to your point about the monies and the consultants and what have you, they're in a position to make different decisions. But I don't believe we hold them accountable enough as it relates to the appropriation of contracts and the school-to-prison pipeline. And I just believe that they owe something for the positions that they are in to the people they serve. I'll hang up and listen to your responses.
Thank you. My comment about Dr. Williams, I said that what I don't understand is why, when they're attacking a superintendent, and I mean from any district, why does it appear that it's always the black superintendent? And that's been my makeup. And I agree with you, and I've said it publicly. I say it right now. I think that we've been hoodwinked, we've been bamboozled. I think that we let people come in our community, tell us what we need, and they come in, they give these charts, and you know, this right here, this program is the best program. They take $2-3 million out, and that's it. And it's some stuff that you're saying. We can't even transport the parents to the damn meetings. We can't. I mean, if we had things, I mean, you don't want me to go there. I want people to talk for a little while. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Because I'll get upset.
Yeah.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Norman and Ms. Coker. I want to if I could follow up with Julius for 1 second. Great point about the black male teacher. Now, but I look at it a little different. I think that it was society overall has deliberately tried to erase the role of the black male, not only in the school system, but everywhere else that we played a part with developing our children. I mean, I think that a society would hire a black woman, they would empower them, but for the most part, even the welfare system is designed to get the black family separate. Well, we'll help the woman with the children as long as she stays unmarried and the father is not around. They'll support us, and that has led to the demise in a great part of what's happened in the black community. The male, even in churches, the males are being slowly either erased or set in the back burner. And it's a tragedy. And I think that black women
need to see the plan to destroy the role that the black male has in his family and his society and not buy into it. But it seems that a lot of black females who've been empowered have decided that they like that power and are not willing to return it back to the father figure in the community. And they can't raise these young boys. And that's why the problems exist that they are on the streets with these violent young men, because the women, as much as they want to do right, cannot raise these young men to be productive, because the male is the disciplinary and the father and the head in the family. And it happened in the schools. Look at the schools and look at the society. Thank you.
Hey, Cal, hold up. And also, I forgot to say that I'm going to have you and Calvin Copeland, Charlie Copeland, sitting in hosting some of my shows, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, buddy. What did he say there?
Now, I would
said
say,
a mouthful.
No, he did. He said a mouthful. But let me just share this with you. When you don't know who you are, anybody can give you definition.
Talk to me.
And when they give you definition, you are dancing to whatever their tune is. So as far as black males are concerned, black females are concerned, as long as our history is not in the books, as long as our children, and it's our fault, as long as our children do not know who they are, by name, by character, by history, by anything, then I am free to come around and tell you who you are, where you go, what you're going to do, and how it's going to happen.
Well, you know, Ms. Coker, I got to tell you, I got so much respect for you. I remember I was talking to this guy, and he's supposed to be a leader or somebody. I said, well, you need to speak to B.B.COKER. Who's she? Right then I knew. He didn't know who that. I didn't. He was out of it. I mean, how you gonna not know her?
No, that's.
I mean, you like the dean, man.
No, but it's not.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
It's terrible.
How you doing, Norman? This Sam guy calling.
Hey, my main man. Sam, I am.
Yes, how you doing, Mr. Coker?
Hey, Sam.
You all are hitting a lot of interesting topics. I just wanted to interject a couple of concepts.
Okay.
One, I want all your viewing audience to go out and Google the concept of local control in public education.
The concept of local control in public education.
Local control.
Okay.
And it's explained in all of the U.S. Supreme Court cases related to education. They talk about local control. And here's where we got hoodwinked. When we came from under federal court supervision, the black community did not gain any local control of the education of their children. And local control is the most fundamental concept of public education in America, and we don't have any local control. Local control then allows you to make sure that the school system addresses the needs of your children. If you're out in the rural area, then what your kids need as an education, you make sure they get it. If you're in an urban area and you have local control, you make sure your kids get what they get. Secondly, when federal court supervision was lost, when Carper, Strine, Paul Fine, and all of them said we want our freedom so that we can do what we want to do, doing what they wanted to do, as we now see 20 and 30 years later, means the demise of our children and the lack of an education. Those people are responsible for what you see in the shootings in Wilmington and the lack of education. They designed this system, and with the charter schools creating segregation in our neighborhoods, I agree that it doesn't matter who you're sitting next to if you're getting a good quality education. But if you give me local control, I'm a black man who's always said that I'm willing to stand up for us to be responsible for controlling the educational system to make sure that the children in our neighborhoods get a quality education. And I don't understand any grown person who doesn't do like the other ethnic groups and say, yes, you give me the money, the equal resources, and I will be responsible for making sure we get a good principal, good teachers, and good facilities, and educate the children in greater Wilmington or whatever.
Well, thanks, Sam.
So that's my comment.
Hey, man, Sam, you said a mouthful.
Yeah,
you know, that's why people need to watch this show.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get educated.
He said a mouthful, but I would add to what Sam is saying in terms of local control. I'm not that hung up on that principal, but I do not disagree with him.
You know, I wish a principal would call.
No,
Maybe a principal.
No.
If
What
they don't
I
have enough
would say
time.
to you though is this: in terms of it's more than just saying we have local control, we have this building. It means to me that there should be a coming together of the University of Delaware, Del Tech, Delaware State, Wesley, any of those schools. Give us a better undergraduate education. I think Pastor D hit something on the head. He talked about the respect or the lack of respect that is coming through for our teachers. Now, I'm not blaming all teachers. I don't mean that. But we need an undergrad curriculum that will better prepare the teachers to teach our children.
Absolutely. Let's take one or two calls. Because
Yeah.
we got about a minute left. Okay, how you doing? I'll make it quick.
Yeah, it's Richard again. What I wanted to say is that the problem that we have is we're setting our priorities in the wrong direction. What we need to do is we need to go K through 12, getting black educated men to come to Delaware, the first state that have the talent and the ability to transfer information to actually teach. We need to recruit.
Yep.
We need to recruit young black men that are interested in teaching, and we need to start from K to 12 and quit all of the foolishness about all of the other things that we're getting money for. We need to get money for education.
That's right.
The only way we're going to save ourselves is to save ourselves. We can't look for somebody else to do it.
That's
We'll
right.
have a lot of time. Hey, thanks for the call, though. I think we got time maybe for one call, you think? Maybe? How you doing? Real quick. Hello?
How you doing?
I'm fine.
All I have to say.
I just gotta say this.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have a daughter that's a physician. It took her 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, 10 years of residency to become a head and neck surgeon. Okay, you've got teachers that are 4 years of college, okay? You are operating on children's brains 6 hours a day.
Wow.
10 months out of the year.
Wow.
And we don't think that we need a better product that's operating on the brains of our children for 12 years?
Wow.
I have a problem with that.
Damn, I'm going to give you a pound. I feel like, woo! How you doing? Real quick.
Yes, I just wanted to have Mrs. Coker to speak on charter schools. What I've been reading is increased the African community being more what's called de facto segregation, and it's actually made segregation worse in the African American community. And secondly, with I think Sam Guy's comment about charter schools, they're run by the board, so there is no local control by the community, and I think that's a huge problem.
I wish you had a call earlier.
Yeah, but there are local people on the boards.
Okay, real quickly, we got to wind up. Thank you, Ms. Coker. Yeah. Wow, we got through it. We got phone calls ringing galore. Don't forget, next week, Ugandi Jacobs and Ugandi will be having, Calvin Brown will be coming over. We got Charlie Copeland, we got Pastor D. Ty Johnson, we got Richard Dighton, Calvin Brown, Hanifa Shabazz, Mike Riley, Wayner. Oh, wow, we got a studded group of people who are going to be filling in.
They might not let you come back.
They won't let me come back. But that's all right. Let them sit in here for a while. But so I'll be gone for a little while because I'll be traveling. Yeah. But these people will be filling in. And I'm glad. And again, Robin, Shelby, I hope you feel better, Trista. And let's name something for my good friend Jim Seals Jr. And Della, I heard him say happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. I know Ampy probably make sure my sister makes sure I tell you that. Wow, thank you, BB. Sorry we couldn't get to all the calls. Thank you.
That was fun.